What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? I know it's last minute, man. I don't know if anybody's going to jump in here or not, but most of y'all are probably sitting around the kitchen table. But I figured I had a couple minutes, man, so I jump on here and we talk about some Carolina football, man. I'm going to try to start doing a couple of more lives, man, throughout the week whenever the opportunity presents itself, because your boy likes talking Carolina football, man. So we'll wait a couple minutes, man, see if anybody jumps in here, and we'll get after it. It's been a while. I'm excited. We got, less than a month, man. Carolina will be headed up to Minneapolis, take on the Minnesota Gophers, bro. Pretty big game. Big Ten, 8 p.m. kickoff, Fox. There's probably not going to be very many football games that night, dude. So that should be pretty stinking exciting. If you haven't already, make sure that either you have Friday off or you take leave, at least like a half day or something like that, so that you'll be able to make it throughout the night. Your boy is going to take the first half of that next day off, because obviously I'm going to be putting together some content, win, lose, or draw, and we'll probably be up pretty late. So I'm excited about it, man. I'm really excited about Carolina football coming back. I know that it seems like there's been a pretty hefty drop off, if you will, man, as far as people that are interested, and I think it's a shame because they might just miss out on something kind of special this year, dude. I think this is one of the deeper teams that Mac Brown has fielded. And it's kind of sneaks up on you because you don't have a Sam Howell, you don't have a Drake May, and you got this 3-quarterback competition right now going, and I don't think people know exactly what to make of everything, right? There's no 5-star talent, excuse me, that's coming in here to save the day anymore. Carolina's going to have to be a lot more balanced as an offense, balanced as a team. The offense is going to have to help the defense and vice versa. And I really do think that there's a lot of Tar Heels that are struggling with, what to think. But, I'll preface what I'm going to say next with this. Win, lose, or draw, bro. Your team is your team, right? Don't give up on them. Don't lose hope. I know sometimes it seems stinking bleak, and you look at all these other fan bases and you see all the W's and the conference titles, and sometimes you can feel sorry for yourself, man, but it is what it is, bro. It absolutely is what it is. We're Tar Heels, right? So win, lose, or draw, we got to be here. We got to support the team, even if maybe we don't like who's at the top, or maybe if we don't like some of the decisions that are made as far as personnel is concerned. We're Tar Heels. So I'm always excited for Carolina football, man. I mean, I can honestly say that from the bottom of my heart. I love college football season, and there's nothing more exciting to me than sitting there and watching Carolina on the TV, dude. I enjoy it, man, from the bottom of my heart. So, I figured that we'd talk a little bit about some of the things that we're hearing out of camp. I've listened to Jason Staples and Tommy Ashley. They had their little segment about some of the things that they observed in practice. Listen to Coach Mac Brown's presser, basically his post-practice presser, if you will. And, there's some very interesting things that I think that we can glean from, the guys that have boots on ground and they're watching everything. So obviously starting with the quarterback play. And if you didn't know, man, I'm going to be going on the Hill Brothers podcast later on tonight at 9:30. So if you get an opportunity, like, share, and subscribe to their channel. They do great things. We'll sit there and we'll talk a little bit about the quarterback controversy and all that kind of stuff. But I thought it was real interesting, some of the eyes that were out there saying that, practice one. It's just practice one, all right? I'm not going to put all my eggs in that basket, but practice one, They were calling it the dink and dunk show. A lot of checkdowns, intermediate passing game, didn't complete a lot of passes downfield, and that's a little worrisome to me, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. The fact that Carolina, is and look, Carolina's secondary is really good. I understand that they're probably getting locked down out there. Probably a lot of younger guys still getting some burn and everything. But what that initially made me think about, it kind of, and I don't think that we're in this position at all, but it worried me. And that anytime somebody talks about dinking and dunking an intermediate passing game and not being able to push the ball downfield, I immediately think 2017, 2018, Nathan Elliott, and just the perpetual swing pass out of the backfield that was either negative yards or 1 or 2 yards. And, we're 3 and out, punting, and the defense doesn't stand a chance. Like, it terrifies me, if we can't get the deep ball going. And like I said, I understand that it's practice one. But right now with Carolina not solidifying, obviously at this point, because there's a quarterback battle, who is that QB1, as great as Omarion Hampton is, as great as O is, man, if teams are allowed to put 8, 9 in the box and just walk people up, he's not going to have the same kind of season. He's not. And obviously that's where play action comes in, and, these guys start walking up. We got to be able to beat them deep, especially one-on-one situations out there on the edge. Like I said, J.J. Jones, I think, is more than capable of being a consistent deep threat. He uses his body well and everything. The question is who can get him the football consistently? And there's kind of like a split. I wouldn't say it's a 50-50 because I don't believe it's a 50-50. I put up a poll recently, and I think we had 99 people the last time I checked actually, say who they believed the quarterback should be. And what's up, Dennis? What's up, Hill Brothers? What's up, guys? Appreciate you guys hanging out for a second, man. If you haven't already, do me a favor, man. Hit that like button. Trying to generate a little bit of hype, man, and within Tar Heel Nation. But I completely lost my train of thought. Forgive me. But we're talking about the quarterbacks, right? Talking about the quarterback. Oh, the poll. So I put up a poll, man. There was 99 people that, actually talked about who they believe that the QB1 should be. And I'm indifferent at the end of the day. I think that we can win with all 3 quarterbacks. I genuinely believe that. I have the person that I think Carolina needs right now. It's obviously my own personal opinion. I think many of you know it. But whoever Carolina goes with, I think Carolina can be successful. So at the end of the day, I'm not worried about who is QB1. I'd just like to establish that as soon as possible. If we're playing a video game, then obviously we're going to go with Connor Harrell, right? Because nothing's better in a video game than a dual threat quarterback. And if I'm not mistaken, somebody said, I think I was listening to Taylor Vipp, and he was saying that Connor's speed on the game is like an 85, which is pretty good. So, you break pocket, you get outside, and, you can do some damage, especially in a video game. And obviously Connor can do a lot of damage on his with his feet in real life as well. He brings something very different to the table than a Max Johnson. I do believe that they're 2 very different quarterbacks. And where one is really good, it may be an area where the other one is, maybe a little bit less polished, if you will. Obviously, Max Johnson is not going to be the runner that Connor is. Connor's got wheels, bro. And I agree. I agree, Dennis. He does give the heels another dimension. Not disputing that at all. Not disputing that at all. But I got some stats here that I put out or that I looked up, and I'm sure you guys have heard this ad nauseum. And I'm gonna kind of go into why I stand where I stand right now with who I think should be QB1, and that's obviously within the first week the first practice. We'll talk about this a little bit later on the Hill Brothers podcast. Like I said, the Hill Brothers are in the house, man. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe to their channel. And come and hang out with us at 9:30 tonight if you're not doing anything, because we're going to be talking about some football. Nathan does an outstanding job of mediating everything, and I don't think you guys will be disappointed at all. But the Connor Harrell, Max Johnson situation, I do think that it kind of boils down to those two guys. And the stats that I have right here are kind of indicative of why I would go the route that I would go, especially week 1 against Minnesota. And I think you guys know where I'm headed here, but I'm just going to read this off. So Connor Harrell stats, 22 of 33, 270 yards with a 66.7% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio with a QBR of 49.3. Now, the 3 games that he actually threw passes in, if I'm not mistaken, 0 for 2 against Syracuse, 4 for 4 for 71 yards and a touchdown against Campbell. He had that beautiful deep ball to Chris Culliver. And then he went 18 for 27 for a $199, a touchdown, and 2 picks in the bowl game against West Virginia. I think Connor, if I'm not mistaken, it was something like 93 snaps in his college career. The kid's got tremendous upside. Don't dispute that at all. I don't dispute that at all. However, when you look at the portfolio, if you will, of a guy like Max Johnson, right? It's a little bit different, man. It's a little bit different, okay? 474 completions out of 784 attempts, okay? This is all from ESPN. 5,853 yards with a 60.4% completion percentage. 47 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. That's a 3.9. It's almost a 4-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio with a QBR of 63.6 at 2 different programs within the SEC. Now, last year, okay, Max participated in 3 games where they lost, okay? All 3 of those teams were ranked SEC teams. These were his stats against these teams, okay? At number 10, Ole Miss. They lost 38-35. Max Johnson went 31 for 42. It's almost a 75% completion percentage for 305 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Versus number 3, Alabama. He was 14 for 25, 239 yards with a touchdown and a pick. They lost 26-20. And then at number 19, Tennessee, which was probably his worst game, he went 16 for 34, 223 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, which I think he actually got hurt in that football game. So what Max Johnson averaged in those 3 losses would be 20 completions out of 34 attempts for 256 yards with a touchdown and a pick, okay? Those are not crazy numbers, obviously, and that's just his averages. That's not the games that they won. But they're respectable, especially when you got a stacked backfield and you're not playing against SEC caliber defenses. That's one of the things that I've kind of, trying to peel this thing back, from the outside looking in and saying, who is the guy that needs to be out there under the lights against Minnesota in week 1? This guy has played under the lights. And I personally put a premium on experience. It'd be one thing if we started off with, Charlotte and then North Carolina Central, and then we went into James Madison, and maybe we had Minnesota at the end of that. But I do think that week 1 is going to be very pivotal I don't think it's a make or break game, but I think it's going to be pivotal in the direction that the North Carolina year goes, if you will. You start off 1-0 with a Big Ten win, that's big, huge, okay? Then you kind of get a couple of those preseason games, if you will, against Charlotte and North Carolina Central. I think James Madison is going to be a little bit more down than everybody's anticipating. Last year they were very good, but their coach left. A bunch of guys hit the transfer portal. They did bring some guys in, but there's no reason that North Carolina shouldn't beat James Madison in Chapel Hill. If we lose to James Madison in Chapel Hill, I think that there are really big problems, considering it's year 6, MAC 2.0. But that's the reason why I really do lean towards Max. Now, I personally believe that there should be packages for Connor, and I'm not saying that he doesn't get more and more playing time as the season progresses. But I want to win every stinking football game. And additionally, I wonder, if Max didn't come here, kind of understanding that he was going to be in the seat, barring the fact that, he was just going to be, he just played terrible in the spring. Yeah, Coleman, I think that they brought that kid over from New Hampshire. I can't remember his last name right now, but he led all of FCS in passing or something crazy like that. I'll talk about it more when I release my my prediction, because I'll have a prediction video coming out here soon. It was actually supposed to already be out, but I kind of got backed up with some other stuff that I wanted to do. But we got a young man who's got 93 snaps in his college career. He's got tremendous upside, dual threat kid, and I think that he can really do well. And then you got some guy that's played at 2 different programs. He's got a 4-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, and he's played in some pretty big stinking games at LSU and Texas A&M. Not to mention, a lot of people, I've seen them say, Max Johnson, he's basically lost the job wherever he's gone. Well, there's a little asterisk to that. I mean, you look at the Texas A&M quarterback battle they had last year. Connor Weigman is he is that dude, man. He's a 5-star quarterback. So it's not like that he just lost the job to some chump. And then when Connor got hurt last year at Texas A&M, Max played okay. He didn't play bad at all. So, the fact that he lost the job to a 5-star prospect, that doesn't necessarily make me just want to kind of ball him up and throw him to the wayside, if you will. I'm sure that there are some Aggies out there that would love to have a Max Johnson, able to stink and come off the bench if Connor Weigman got the starting job again this year, which I think that he would. But, I don't really think that's a reason to just kind of, like I said, ball him up and toss him by the wayside. So, if you ask me, Russ, on July 30th at, 7:30, who should Carolina actually, put out there against Minnesota, on August 29th, right, 8 p.m., I'm going to say Max Johnson, man. And, like I said, I understand that that's not a sexy pick to a lot of people. I think 65% of the people that I polled, who do they think that the starting quarterback should be? It was Connor Harrell. And I think a lot of it has to do with his dual threat capability. Hey, I'm not saying that that's not a legitimate weapon. Not saying that at all. But, I think there are other variables in place. Jason Staples alluded to the fact that in the first practice, nobody separated himself. And if you guys weren't here, at the beginning, one of the things that I talked about was it worried me that they were kind of calling it the dunk show. A lot of short drop-offs, intermediate passes, not being able to hit on the deep balls, et cetera, et cetera. So, that worries me a little bit. Obviously, it's just the first practice. These guys still got to get used to each other. They got to work through some kinks. But, sometimes experience is it's not just something that, you know, I think that we should overlook. That we should overlook. And that's the reason that I lean towards Max Johnson. Now I'm not in camp. I'm not sitting there watching practices. I'm purely going off of the fact that I got this kid who was a 4-star prospect, and he's played in some big time college atmospheres, you know, and I am a huge proponent of the fact that until you've experienced something, like actually experienced it, there's very limited. What's the best way to word this? You know, you only know so much from watching. Okay, you know, I'll never know what it's like to be a college athlete. I was never a college athlete, but I have played football before. You know, it's kind of like somebody who's never been to war telling you about war. You know, in the scheme of football, you know, Max Johnson's been to war. You know, he's been to some pretty big battles, and you know, you got to ask yourself, if I'm going into a potentially hostile environment, do I want a guy who's been there, or do I, you know, kind of want to lean on somebody leading my troops that's a little green? Hey man, like I said, either way, I'm fine. I support both of them, you know, and I think, listen to me, Tar Heel Nation, listen to me. We can win with all three of these guys. I'm not at all saying that, you know, oh, if they select this guy, then it's a tragedy. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just telling you who Coach Russ was thinking put out there in week 1. Right now, from the outside looking in, without any, you know, on the field access, you know, that's fair. That's fair, Dennis. You know, that is fair. That is fair. I would say that he's a little behind the power curve. You know, obviously Connor's been in this offense a lot longer than Max has, so I'll give him that asterisk. You know, this is his first fall camp with North Carolina. Obviously, he was there in the spring. He was there right after the bowl game, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, it's different. It's different when you're out there at the practice field than when the lights are on. That's all I'm saying, man. I mean, you're talking about a kid who, like I just said, you know, he's played at Ole Miss, you know, 90,000 fans, probably 70, 80,000 fans, what have you. You know, he's played at Alabama. So he's been down there at Tuscaloosa, and you know how they stinking are. He's been at Tennessee, right? Probably played his worst game at Tennessee, but that's 110,000 screaming fans. Those people are psychos, you know. So all I'm saying is that he's been under the lights. He's not going to be wide-eyed. You know, I don't anticipate Max Johnson being shook, if that makes any sense, because I think he's been a little tested. Now, look, I'm not saying that his ceiling is through the roof. You know, maybe Connor's ceiling is higher. Maybe Connor's ceiling is higher. But all I'm saying is that sometimes, you know, there is some good things that you can glean from being slightly conservative, right? Because even though somebody's ceiling is higher, doesn't mean that they'll reach their ceiling. That's all I'm saying. So you might have a guy with a lower ceiling, but he's got a higher floor. I know you guys have all heard these thinking, you know, ways of putting these things before. And maybe, you know what? Maybe Connor ends up starting, and then he ends up being an absolute stud. And then, you know, I'll put my sock in my mouth and say, hey, man, I was wrong. You know, in this instance, taking that conservative, experienced approach was not correct. Hey, man, you know, I'm perfectly fine with eating my own words. And I just, like I said, I cannot say enough that, you know, anybody that they pick out there, I'm confident that North Carolina can have a really good season. You know, I'm just leaning towards Max Johnson right now. And I think Jason Staples said that, you know, at least in the first practice, Max was more efficient in the intermediate passing game than Connor was today. Now that's obviously going to shift from day to day, from week to week. But I do hope that those guys get this thing settled to where, whoever does get the stinking reins, the keys to the car, they have an opportunity to take it down to the gas station, fuel it up, detail it and everything before they actually take it out there, and play Minnesota at the end of August. So don't just give them 3-4 days. It's not fair to the team. It's not fair to the quarterback. And Max said that he wasn't planning on doing that anyway. So that's kind of my 2 cents as far as the quarterbacks are concerned. Now, another thing that you got to take into consideration is the fact that, Staples was saying that the defensive ends were getting, past the tackles, fairly easily. That's concerning. And then if those are the kind of things that, if those are the kind of things that are transpiring, there's 2 ways to look at it. You got Connor with his wheels. That's that next dimension. But Connor's he's not a huge guy, right? So he's not going to be able to just get beat up all game because the offensive line is not consistently, keeping guys at bay, if you will. And then you got a taller guy like Max Johnson, who would be able to see over, somebody running free towards him and maybe hit, that check down or something like that. There's a height difference. There's a size difference. And I do think that the way that the offensive line is inconsistent right now, at least, that's something to take into consideration as well. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know Tar Heels for life. I really don't, man. I just, like I said, I can't help but think about experience. Like I said, it's one thing if you got Charlotte, your first game, Charlotte and Chapel Hill, noon kickoff, 8 p.m. at Minnesota, Big Ten football. That they're going to be stinking, out there looking for a good start to their season. We roughed them up last year in Chapel Hill, so they're going to want some payback. PJ Fleck, a lot of people don't like him, but, he's a good ball coach. And I think it's going to be an intriguing game. I really do think that it's going to be an intriguing football game. And it's one that if we can win, I think it bodes well to stacking some of these W's, obviously, until we at least get to the Georgia Tech game. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But, yeah, man, that's kind of what I think about the quarterback situation, man. I know that a lot of Tar Heel Nation is going to disagree with me. I know a lot of people are really on the Connor Harrell train. And, I can't say it enough, man. Hey, if the kid gets the job, bro, let's go. Let's go, because I think that he's more than capable. I think that he's more than stinking capable. I also just wonder, though, does, Jake Johnson's on his 3rd team. Did he not come here with basically the understanding of, hey, dude, you're an upperclassman, man. It's going to be yours. I don't know. I don't stinking know, man. But that's kind of what I got as far as the quarterbacks are concerned, moving into the month of August, where we're trying to set this thing up and get this ball rolling. Real quickly, man, the only other thing that I wanted to talk about, because I kind of wanted to keep this short and just see who was going to jump in here real quick. And I appreciate Dennis and Carlton. It's good to see you guys, man. And I'll even say this, Dennis, before I move on to this real quick. I don't think that Connor is the type of guy to leave. I really don't. Because I think that he understands. I think he's one of those kids, man, that understands that, let's just say hypothetically that he doesn't get the job, that Max Johnson plays good enough to keep the job for the rest of the year. I think Connor is the type of kid that understands, hey, my time is coming. It'll come. It'll come. And once again, Max Johnson, we're an injury away. Max has not been able to keep himself healthy. The one game that Connor has really played in, he wasn't able to keep himself healthy. And I think that there's a lot that he can learn from the Jacoby Criswell situation, because if Jacoby stays, after losing the job to Drake, he might be stinking QB1 right now. We might not even be having this conversation. So that's something that's also going to be in the back of Connor's head. Hey, if I leave, let's say I go somewhere else and, I don't get the job over there, and then I'm realizing that, the grass is not actually greener on the other side of the fence. So I don't think that that's the kind of guy that Connor is. Obviously, I expect the kid to do whatever is best for him. And I'm sitting here talking as if Max Johnson has got the job. Who stinking knows? But, I think he's the type of kid that'll put his head down, he'll grind, and he'll wait his turn. I really do. And that's just hypothetically if Max gets the job. So, a very interesting situation, man. Very interesting situation. When you kind of look at, the numbers for both of these guys and where Carolina can go, because it is really two very different directions. I think Carlton attributed going with Max Johnson to, Mac Brown going back to the triple option, which I think is stinking hilarious, man. Carlton's always got the stinking zingers. But, maybe that is the stinking old soul in me. I'm a little bit more, I like experience. I like experience, man. It makes me feel comfortable and warm and fuzzy inside to a certain extent, man. But that's pretty funny, man. Max Johnson's going back to the triple option. But I'm not disputing that at all, Dennis. Not disputing that at all, man. Like I said, Chip Lindsey and Mac Brown will put the guy in place who gives us the best opportunity to win. Yeah. It'll give us the best opportunity to win, man. And, like I said, if Carolina goes dual threat and, I'm not mad at it at all. Not mad at it at all. Let's go. Let's think and go, man. And like I said, I'm really just kind of alluding to who do I want under the lights against Minnesota in week 1. Hey, maybe Max gets the stinking nod. Carolina gets up maybe 14. You bring in Connor. He has a real good drive. They kind of switch out. And then, maybe Connor wins the job. And then he's got a couple of more, those preseason games that he can work through, before Duke, Pitt, and Georgia Tech. I don't know, man. I really don't. I stinking really don't, man. 400 yards of rushing per game, Carlton. Hey, obviously that'd be stinking great. That would be stinking great. The only problem is that if what Jason Staples said is true, where Carolina, and obviously, like I said, you got Elijah Huzzy and Marcus Allen out there guarding these guys, man. That's going to be tough. But he's saying that they had a little bit of issues completing deep balls. If people feel like, they're able to put 8 in the box, man, that's going to be tough on O. And he's only going to get so many carries. I think he should get about 25 touches a game. They're not going to run him downhill and kill him. They're really not. And all the more reason to run the option. Hey, yeah, it may be something that that they go to. I don't think it won't be the triple option. It might be like an option out of the shotgun or something. But once again, the thing about running the option as a quarterback, I ran the option in high school. Well, my earlier years, the quarterback always gets hit. So, do you want Connor taking shots, delivering the ball up, getting the running backs free? I don't know. How many hits is he going to be able to take? Because he's not a very big dude. He's not a very big dude. And that option pitch, man, you leave yourself open. So put Big O in as the quarterback. Maybe, man. I mean, Carlton's in here developing his own offense, man. We got a wildcat option going with Big O pitching it to Darwin Barlow on the outside. Got to think outside the box. I hear you, brother. I hear you, man. And then O'Marion's taking just shot after shot, and he's not even registering carries. But yeah, it's a interesting concept, Carlton. Interesting concept. Somebody get that guy a stinking headset, man. Somebody get him a headset, man, so he can talk to Chip Lindsey during the Minnesota game. But yeah, we'll see, man. We'll stink and see. I'm really anxious to see how this quarterback battle plays out. Because like I said, man, the offense goes into two very different directions. Yeah, the noodle arm. That's what I was worried about, Carlton, That's what I was worried about, man. It just gave me nightmares of Nathan Elliott throwing swing passes out of the backfield probably about 20 times a game. You guys remember that? Little trip down memory hill, man. Let's go back to the stinking scary land. Watching stinking Nathan Elliott. Yeah, when Chaz was playing versus Miami. Good night, man. That was maddening. It was maddening. I remember thinking to myself, after Marquise, after Mitch Trubisky, how in the world did we get here? Like, how did we get here? And there was a time where I thought, that Chaz Surratt was going to be the dude. He just was young. But then, when it was Nathan Elliott, it's like, good night. How have we fallen so low, man? Good. I mean, he just could not put the ball down the field to save his life. And all we had was, it was so easy to defend. It was just swing pass after swing pass after swing pass. Gosh, man, that was real bad. Rough times, dude. He did. He tried his butt off, Carlton. He tried his butt off, man. Good night. But he could not stink and sling that football to save his life, man. I'm pretty sure he was a long snapper in high school or something. Carolina just didn't have any other options. But he tried, man. He tried. So I appreciate you, Nathan, for all the hard work, brother. Good night. It was rough to watch, though. I wonder if Nathan ever comes back to the games. That's what I'm saying, Carlton. You start dropping 8-9 in the box, bro. And Nesbitt's coming over the middle. You have options, especially when you go 12 personnel with 3 tight ends on the field, which I think they should do, often. But that's another reason where, that's another element per se that it pays to be 6'5", 235 pounds, man, where you got guys that are coming at you hard and you can see over the top of them. I don't know, man. It's an interesting concept, interesting thing to think about, and I think that Mac Brown and the offense, they got a lot to think about as far as what direction they want to go. Because I think the natural inclination is, hey, man, this guy, to use the terms of Jeff Collins, Connor Harrell makes us so much more multiple. He loves to use that stinking word. We're gonna be multiple. We're gonna be it's gonna be simple. But it'll be chaotic. But it'll be we'll be multiple. Double tight and play action. I think you're gonna say a lot of that. 2 tight ends on the field, Dennis. Multiple punts per game. God forbid we do that, because Tom is shanking him off the side of the practice facility. That's one of the things that I was going to talk about. Was the fact that with the situation we got with the quarterbacks, we might be punting more often. And when you can't flip the field to save your stinking life, that's not good. And it kills me that maybe Big O can punt. Yeah. It kills me that we didn't be a little bit more aggressive in the portal for a punter. That kid from Notre Dame was like the nation's top punter, and he was from Indian Trails, North Carolina. Perfect fit. Didn't even go after him because he wanted a scholarship. And I guess, the coaching staff said, well, we already got a punter on scholarship. We're not going to do 2. Well, at the end of the day, bro, when you're shanking you know, 25, 30-yard punts and that's your net. You're not flipping the field. And that changes a lot about the dynamic, you know, what you're capable of doing, when to go for it, when not to go for it, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, I think the offense and the defense are going to be, you know, I think the offense is going to be just fine. I think the defense is going to be much improved. I use the word much in the sense that, you know, it's not going to be a top 10 defense, but I do believe that Jeff Collins is going to we're going to see a lot more negative plays. Struggling to find 3 wins. I could find 3 wins, brother. I'm telling you. Man. And I hear you, Dennis. I hear you. The old special teams. He said in his little presser, he said, "Hey, man, you know, special teams is a third of the game. You know, if you don't want to play special teams, well, you're being selfish. Maybe you should do something else." I wish that Coach Mac Brown was a little bit more, you know, putting his money where his mouth is, as far as because the woes that we had last year punting the football, and to just kind of come into this year and be like, we'll figure it out. I think that is some gross neglect, if you will. And I can imagine that the punting situation is going to be adventurous, just as it was last year. So that'll be interesting. Hopefully we just don't have to punt the ball, you know, as often. That's what I'm hoping for, man. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, yep. I hear you, Dennis. So I just wanted to jump in here real quick, man. Hang out, see what you guys. Oh, you already know, Carlton. You already know. I tell you what, man. Like I said, we got to save some topics for later days, because I'm going to try to do this a lot more often, man. You know, little 30, 45-minute get-togethers, and hang out with you guys and talk some Carolina football. And so we'll definitely one day talk about. He's right here. Come here, Mass. Carlton wants to see you. It's been a while. There he is in all his glory. Okay. Oh, good night, dude. All right. I love you too, man. Love you too. He is also ready for football season. So, but we'll definitely talk about the head coach ordeal as the season progresses, man. But I'm excited, man. I'm really excited to get back into this thing with you guys. I hate the off season, dude. I appreciate you, Dennis. And we'll have some fun, man. We'll have some stinking fun this year, bro. And I hear you, Carlton. And we'll have some fun this year, man, watching Carolina football. So if you haven't already, man, do me a favor, bro. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends about the channel, man. It's gotten a little stagnant, but it is what it is. And we'll catch you guys on the next one, man. Love you guys.